Welcome to Real Women of Bastrop, where small town charm meets big time grit. I'm your host, Lindsay Kana, sixth generation Bastropian, realtor, and community cheerleader. Around here, we're more than big hair. We're business owners, mamas, creatives, and quiet powerhouses. And this podcast, well, it's pulling back the curtain on the stories, struggles, and strength of the women who keep this town running. Because every woman has a story, and around here, we believe yours matters. Let's get into it.
Hi guys, I'm Ann Marie Nguyen, moved here to Bastrop in 2021. My husband and I have Bastrop Chiropractic, and most recently I have become a master gardener.
Wow, master. Okay, what does that mean, master gardener? Tell me what.
Yeah. So master gardening, you go through a program through Bastrop County where you basically do education from like August through early November, and you are mostly spending your Saturdays just learning all things plants, whether it's like insects, how to start a garden, organic gardening.
Wow.
I mean, everything you can imagine. Once you complete that course, you do at least 50 hours of volunteer hours before you can become a certified master gardener. And then, so it's a really, really cool organization if you are someone who is looking to like advance their knowledge as a gardener.
Yeah. And that's here in Bastrop or in Austin?
Yeah. They have it at different counties, but Bastrop County does have their own. So we're a group of like maybe 40 something members.
Oh, nice. And that's every Saturday. So how long? So you've mastered it. You're a master gardener.
Yeah. At the end of last year, I became like an official master gardener. So that keeps
Nice.
me busy outside of my own gardens.
Yeah. And then you have your own, which is cool. So what are some things you're growing right now?
So really, I'm growing everything you can imagine. I have multiple gardens here at the house, but I had this dream of just making my life so romantic since, we can't live in Italy or we can't live in France. So what do we do to just embrace like our own life, and how can we make like our life more romantic without having to take expensive vacations? So part of me moving out here was just like learning how to slow my life down and be more intentional with my living, with how I spend my time, what I do with my time. And so part of that overall big dream and scheme of things was building and designing these gardens that were truly going to fulfill me. And so when you ask, what am I growing right now? I'm like deep in tomato season. So we have lots of tomatoes, lots of herbs, cucumbers, lots of flowers, sunflowers. So really everything you can grow in our zone, it's in my garden.
Wow. That's so cool.
What about you? Do you have a garden?
No, I cannot keep anything alive other than my kids. It's like, I don't know what it is. I do not have a green thumb, and I have not taken the time to learn about it like you have. So I'm sure maybe with some help, I could grow a few things, but I love that you said you're creating your own kind of sanctuary and your own happiness where you're at, which is so important because I think a lot of times people, look elsewhere and travel and think, you're on a vacation, of course, right? You're happy. But it's kind of associating that happiness with moving or doing something totally different when what you're doing is just building it right where you are. And I love that. And just incorporating that into your everyday life. So it's really amazing.
Well, sometimes we get so stressed out about having to save money and go on vacation and think that we have to wait to like have a good time in our life to go on that vacation. And almost like we come back from vacation and we're stressed from that whole process from A to Z, right? But what if we just stopped and we mind our own diamonds? Like what we're sitting on is everything that we need. Everything that we need is right in front of us. Like, for example, I used to be somebody who just did not like Texas summer, right? It's hot. If you ask me, I'm complaining about the heat and humidity. But like right now, are you the same? Okay, most people here are just like, oh, you dread Texas summer. Well, I am deep in what I call tomato girl summer. So for me, that is so much more than just saying, oh, I grow tomatoes and I show off my tomatoes on social media. What that means is instead of complaining about the Texas heat and the Texas humidity and not being able to like do as much outside, I'm finding things to celebrate the season. So whether it's like having a small picnic in your yard or having breakfast outside or just getting outside and reading a book, just taking like the season that you're in now. So whether it's summer, spring, fall, and finding the beauty of that season and really embracing it instead of like complaining about it or finding things like you don't have enough of, like a lack of, because really, does that kind of make sense?
Oh, it totally hits home. And I love everything you just said. Have you always had this mindset? Because it's a wonderful place to be, right? Like it's a great headspace. It's a great outlook. Have you always had that? Have you grown up, with that same outlook?
Absolutely not. Actually, my most recent outlook was when we moved here from Austin in 2021. We started a business, and at that time, it was like scarcity mindset. Like, oh my gosh, we have to like make money to survive, right? We have to like put food on the table. So at that time, I deeply immersed myself into the community for the
Mhm,
first 2 years. I joined boards and
mhm.
volunteer, and I was so busy. I was so busy in the community that
Yeah.
after 2 years, my husband and I went on vacation. And I remember looking at him being like, wow, I haven't read a book. I haven't started my garden. I had nothing for myself to show for. And I felt
Mhm.
so empty because I was like, they were taking and taking and taking. So I came back and I had this big aha moment. And I was like, that's it. I am leaving every single board. I'm going to take a step back from volunteering and I'm going to just feed myself and my soul.
Yeah.
And during that time, I have now read 140 books. I have
That's
started,
crazy.
I know, and that's like in a little over a year. I'm on my fourth garden, but
Oh, yeah.
also when I started feeding myself and my soul first, I have
Mhm.
also volunteered over 150 hours in the last year. So when
Oh,
I
wow.
put myself first and nurtured
Yeah.
myself, I had more space to then pick and choose how I wanted to volunteer and spend
Yep.
my time in that hours versus the reverse. Does that make sense?
Oh,
So I
100%.
was able to give more than I was ever before because I was taking care of me first.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's so important. Yeah, when I was reading over, some things about you, I love, you mentioned growing up with humble beginnings and a lot of
Mhm.
grit, which I love that word.
Mhm.
What's something about your childhood that you could share that shaped really who you are today, do you think?
So, in a nutshell, my childhood was very traumatic. I grew up as a hungry girl in a very violent house. And I also had to deal for like with bullying in school at a young age. So just not having that ideal family upbringing felt like life was always like I always had to overcome adversity. And
Mm,
that's also, I also became a young mom at 17. I had my son.
right.
So being young, it was like sink or swim. So the motivation for success early on was the fact like I had to put food on my table. I had to,
Yeah.
make sure my son was taken care of. But now my son is 24. I don't have those responsibilities of making sure he's okay.
Yeah.
Then I can actually start, taking care of Anne Marie in the sense that,
Yeah.
maybe be able to go back and heal some of those, childhood trauma things or go
Mhm.
and unlearn the scarcity mindset, and that's
Yes.
a lot of part of that gardening is from that fear deep down inside that I don't ever want to go hungry. I don't want to be hungry. I know that feeling. And so a
Yeah.
part of that, it's unlearning some of those things from childhood and learning that scarcity and just kind of going through and creating that space in your life that
Mhm.
is going to be, and so life is just, you're constantly learning and growing and evolving. And like you said, those are the
Yeah.
things that have shaped me today. And that's what keeps me humble. And that's what
Yeah.
keeps me, gossiping about people or judging people or try or catching myself if I do and being able to correct that. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of giving more than you take.
Yes. Yeah. No, I love that. Okay, you started your first business
Hmm.
with $1,000, closet-sized studio. This was the salon, right? Your hair
Hmm.
business? Okay.
Hmm.
So, take us back to that moment. What gave you the courage to take that leap with so little?
At the time I was dating my husband was my boyfriend. And
Okay.
so I literally needed somebody who believed in me. I
Mm,
didn't have family or friends or anyone that was like, Anne Marie, pursue your dreams. But
yeah.
that one man that believed in me was like, listen, in my office, I have this tiny little closet.
Yeah.
I would completely help you and support you and push you and motivate you. And he did, like, he planted the
Wow.
seed that I can be who I want to be. And
Yeah.
I took that little closet and I connected myself with, so I didn't know anything, right? I'm dropping out of college. I'm taking a big risk on myself
Yeah.
and had to like write my business plan. But at this time, my whole life, I had been dreaming of like one day becoming an entrepreneur. And
Sure.
so at this time, like just that belief system and having somebody on your side just believing in you, I then found people to connect with that I could either learn from, that could
Yeah.
mentor me, like learn how to market, learn how to build a website, and just went all in. And so betting on myself and pushing and working. And back that back then, and this was a long time ago. For a long time, I was in that girl boss hustle culture. It was
Yeah.
like if you don't work that
Exhausting.
hard, you're not
Yeah.
gonna.
Yeah.
You know how that
I've
is.
been there. I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so after a while, you definitely can burn out from that.
Yeah.
But yes, just taking the being a risk taker, and which I
Yeah.
definitely am.
Yeah, and it's amazing that you had a partner in your life who was very supportive, and it makes a big
Hmm.
difference. Sean, my husband, he's always any crazy idea I get, he's like, "Yeah, do it, do it." I mean, what's
Yeah,
the worst that can happen? It fails, and then you've learned something. So just
absolutely.
to have him there, supporting everything
Hmm.
it makes a huge difference. Yeah, yeah,
And that's what people, I think, don't see. They don't see all the businesses that we've probably started that
yeah,
have failed, or the
yeah.
domains, or the dreams. But
Uh,
it just takes one.
I know. It just takes one, and then, for me, it's been just kind of finding, what the best fit is for me and my family and something I'm
Hmm.
still passionate about, but I still feel like I'm making a difference. So I do have
Hmm.
several, not necessarily businesses, but like this podcast. It's just something that I want to do, right? I wanna connect with other women. I want to have a platform for everyone to share their voice and inspire, because I've been so inspired by many people along the way, and just to have that out there is so great. So, but yeah,
Hmm.
doing little things too to kind of fulfill, the whole is
Hmm.
has been my journey.
And you're still always learning things about yourself, right? What may work
Oh
this year may
yeah,
not work next year. Who knows? Maybe you may be over podcasting in a couple years, but for now, for your season of the life, you are taking it, you're running with it, you
yeah,
are giving yourself new challenges, and that's what
yeah.
life's about,
And
right?
it's about learning too for me. If I'm not learning, I have to be learning something new. And then like with you with reading all the books, that's incredible. Just all that knowledge, and yeah, I mean, I think for me that's a big thing. If I get stagnant or to where I think I can't grow in a
Hmm.
certain something that I'm doing, then that's when I'm like, okay, I need to reevaluate, how I need growth.
Right.
You said you used to say yes to everything.
Hmm.
How do you guard your peace today? Is it through gardening, and is it through all of the choices in your day to day, or what really keeps you grounded and at peace with everything?
So, what really keeps me at peace, which I love this question so much because peace is the one thing I do not compromise. So, whether it's a friendship or whether somebody's asking something of me, if I find that it's not bringing peace in my life, the answer is always no. So,
Yeah.
I do not compromise with peace. And
Oh,
relates to that relates to being asked to do certain things. For example, like I said, I do volunteer a lot. Well, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to say yes or do it. And I'll give you an
yeah,
example. I do not say yes to administration tasks. That's not my specialty. I do not like it. I don't
yeah,
want to sit in front of a computer. And so
yeah,
if I'm asked to do certain tasks or create things that just don't feed my soul or
yeah,
excite me, the answer is no. And so I'm
yeah,
very clear about like my boundaries because I know what's going to be peaceful and not peaceful in my life, right? So I'm
yeah,
very careful with curating that because I don't want to be unhappy. I don't want to come home after a volunteer shift or work and complain to my husband about all the things I disliked, right? And so if you're finding yourself doing that, whether it's your job, your day-to-day job, whether it's friends you're hanging out with, if you find that you feel negative or you just unhappy at your job, well, maybe it's time to step back and start looking at making a change, because
yeah.
like I said, that's the one thing I do not compromise is peace.
Yeah, I love that, and I think someone out there listening is going to hear that and think, "Oh, I'm not at peace,"
Mhm.
and or this friendship is not bringing peace into my
Mhm.
life, or this
Mhm.
job, it's too much for me, and it's
Mhm.
taking everything, it's taking my soul. So I know
Mhm.
people are stuck in situations and who will hear this and think, "Well, I just need to make the first step and acknowledge it, right? Write
Mhm.
it down and figure out how to change it," because change is scary, but it can also
Mhm.
bring about, I mean, so many beautiful, wonderful things. So
Mhm.
just, I think acknowledging it, right, is the first thing. And like,
Right.
these are the things that are not fulfilling me or not making me happy, and
Mhm.
eliminating peace and then trying to find different areas to grow.
Right. And prioritizing, because that's number one. Because I know that if I don't have that in my life at first, it's
Oh,
kind of nothing else will fall into place. And I need the puzzles to fit together.
yes.
So if I start with a strong foundation, then I'm able to look at everything else as a whole. And
Yeah.
maybe some things can compromise on, but the peace in my life is definitely non
A
negotiable.
big thing. Yeah. Love it. Love it. You said you hit debt-free status before 40, which is incredible, and that's
Mhm,
on my list right now. I have 4 main goals that I keep on
mhm,
my, iPhone, on my screensaver, so that I
mhm,
have to look at them every day and think, "Okay, am I making the choices that are going to, help me reach my goals?" And debt-free is definitely a big one on mine. But
mhm,
you hit debt-free status before 40 and built a strong financial foundation. So
mhm.
what's one, like, money mindset shift that helped you get there?
Well, this is a big one. I have an incredible sister-in-law, and my
Okay.
sister-in-law is a very, very successful woman. And a long time ago, she told me, Anne Marie, I know you were married to my brother, but if there's any advice I can give you, it's that you need to learn how to manage your own money. Your
Mm.
husband may not always be around. And so if you,
Oh,
nobody's going to care about your money more than you. And I get that it could be y'all's money or whatever,
yeah.
maybe the case in your marriage. But ultimately, she said, and with that, that entails learning how to invest, right? So whether
Okay.
it's having a financial plan, let's say you're in your young 20s,
Yep.
maybe have a plan instead of buying your dream house at 23 or 20, whenever you're young to buy your house. Maybe you're going to buy a house that you're going to live in for 2 to 3 years. Then you know that you're going to, sell it, get equity from that house, and then turn around and either reinvest that money or put it in the stock market or whatever it is. So learning how to make investments that are going to pay you back, we have to think 10 or 20 years down the road,
Sure.
right? And
Yep.
so, whether it's getting a financial advisor, whether it's learning about how to invest in great stocks or the index fund
Yep.
or real estate, those are usually the two avenues that are going to keep paying you back over and over. And that's a part of my investing in yourself sort of strategy.
Yeah.
So with those sort of tools, and that mindset, yes, I was able to become 100% debt free before I was 40, and that's incredible. I mean, that was really
Yeah.
a goal. And I felt like I started investing a little later in my life. So wherever you're at in your life, it's never too
Just
late.
start. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
never
yeah. No, I think that's
Yes,
great. And there is help out there too. You don't have to do it
yes,
on your own. Like you said, you can hire someone to help you or
exactly.
read.
You can set
Yeah.
And just like with my son, so my son graduated high school. Some kids get a car, or they get a party. My son got a Roth IRA so that he can set
Love
up
it.
his retirement.
I
And
love
that
it.
was the deal. I was like, this is what you're getting. You're going to get your first start to your retirement. And he's
Yeah.
24 now, and he funds his Roth every single year. So,
Yeah.
you can just start with as simple as opening up a Roth, funding that, because that is an account that can grow tax free. And so you want to maximize your Roth every year, even if you're like an independent person or work for someone, because as that money grows, it's 100% tax free.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And he's so blessed to have you and learn all the things from you. Yeah, that's great. Your
Well,
wealth of
thank you.
knowledge. So let's do some rapid fire fun finishers. So, what is your go-to comfort meal from the garden?
A good never can go wrong with a comfort salad. So you just take the
Yeah.
greens, take the tomatoes, you sprinkle with olive oil, lemon, salt, and right then and there. So good.
Yeah. Love it. Okay, you posted a picture a couple weeks ago. I think it was the huge tomatoes with all the different toppings. You did like several different that looked amazing. It
A
looked so
tomato,
yummy.
yeah, that tomato flight, and I had grown that big tomato from seed, and it's just such a proud moment. It's definitely part of my, embracing the tomato girl summer,
Yeah.
romanticizing my life in summer.
I
So
love it.
it's so fun.
What's your Instagram handle? Is it Annie's?
Annie's Cottage Garden,
Perfect. Okay, yeah, y'all go follow along Annie's Cottage Garden. Everything looks delicious and beautiful, and yeah,
especially if you love gardening.
yeah. What is since you've read so much, a book that changed your life?
My gosh, I have so many, but
Yeah.
one in particular that stands out would be Everybody Always by Bob Goff.
Okay.
That is one of a handful, but what that book really just talked about was no matter who it is, in this world, people are going to be bad people. People are going to do bad things. But if you just learn how to just give love, love people, just that trajectory, that mindset will change your entire world.
Yeah.
And it is a book that it's probably my number one book that I give away as gifts. And
Mhm.
that's just made a big difference in my life
Okay, I'm
for
gonna have to
sure.
read it. I have it written down. Bob
Mhm.
Goff. Okay, perfect.
Yes, Everybody Always.
Everybody always love it. Okay, dream road trip destination with Pete and Tesla.
Yes. So my husband and I, we made a long time ago, we take two-week road trips per year. And
Yeah.
so we're overdue for one, and we're going to be
Yes.
heading to Yosemite for a couple weeks at the end of the
Oh,
summer. Yeah, the end of
nice.
next month. So that's going to be fun.
What's something people would be surprised to know about you?
From the outside, I look like this really sweet, kind girl, and I am those things. But what they don't see is they don't see all the pain, the hurt. They don't see the ugliness that got me to become like this beautiful flower, right? They don't see the thunderclouds and the rainstorms, and they
Yeah.
don't see the tornadoes, and what you end up is with this lovely finished product from the disaster.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
just that's probably would be one. And then two, that I used to say that I'm not a creative person because I couldn't paint or sing or dance. But you know what? I am a talented person. I have so many
Yeah.
gifts to offer the world, and just who
Yes.
I am, which is somebody who gives lots of love, a great friend, mother, and just a person in our society is
Yeah.
just
I love it. I love it.
just want to
Yeah,
give
you do.
value and
Yeah, and you are. And I feel like you're going to write a book. If you haven't already started it, I feel like you need to.
yes.
Yeah, you need to write a book. I'll be the first to buy it.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet.
No, well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And as soon as I met you, which hasn't been that long, I haven't known you that long, but I could just tell I'm a good judge of character and I just radiate like warmth and kindness. And so I appreciate you for doing this because I know someone's going to listen and learn so much or have that aha moment. So thank you.
No, and thank you too for just giving women like me a platform and a voice, because
Yeah.
using our voice, sharing our voice and sharing our stories, like you are doing so many amazing things in this community. So you are a rock star, girl, and I appreciate you
Thank
as
you.
well.
Thank you. All
Keep up
right.
the
I
great
love
work.
ya.
Okay,
Okay.
bye.
I will talk to you soon. That's it for this episode of Real Women of Bastrop. If today's story moved you, made you laugh, or reminded you of the power of community, share it with a friend and please leave us a quick review. It helps more people find these stories and the women behind them.